Okay, thank you. And we're back here with Mr. Fred Blau. You know, we've got all these wonderful products here that we've been talking about, but let's explain. During the break there, one of the students here asked if you would explain a little more about the blue screen and the green screen.
Well, some productions like to use a blue they call it chroma key, and others like to use green. Green is becoming much more popular. I have no idea why, but
honestly, I think blue would be better because there's green in human skin. So it's really interesting that the skin is not keying. Let me explain this. Can I throw this in?
Sure.
You people at home, you don't see this. What you see behind us is the city of Los Angeles at night, or something else if that's not available. And what really is here in the studio, so that you know the kind of magic that we use here, is a green wall. It's painted green. In fact, it's this color of green. Now, if this is working properly, this bottle is keying, that's the term, the city, or whatever the background is behind us, is also showing up also in this bottle here. All right? So, some studios will use, instead of a green wall, they'll use a blue wall. So this will do the same thing. Now, if I were to paint this green all over my face, I would disappear. You'd have the city, or whatever the background is, you'd have it all. You'd be able to see right through me. It would look as though my head didn't exist. And that's how they do the Invisible Man, right?
Yeah.
And for instance, they put this green all over his face, and then they wrap him with bandages. All right, and he stands in front of the green screen, and as he takes off the bandages, you know, what he's exposing is the green that's on his skin, and he disappears. Right? And that's why you can see, if it's working properly, the kind of background that you got behind us here. And as I said, sometimes they use the green, sometimes they use the blue. Most of the time they use the green.
Yeah, in Waterworld we use blue.
When they started with chroma key, everything was blue.
Yes.
You know. Then I don't know why they switched to green. I'm going to have a cinematographer come on and be a guest on the show to find out exactly why they switched to green. All right, did that answer your question? Did you get that? Good, you're welcome. Okay, let's talk about these. All right, we've got all these kits. This is the Greg Canham Aging Palette.
Okay. We started out with a palette called the Real Color Wheel. Now, the Real Color Wheel has all of your spectrum colors in there, and it's designed specifically for doing body art, doing tattoos, and more fantasy type. Then I came up with another palette that we called the Cover-Up Effects palette. Now, the Cover-Up Effects palette, the nice thing about that is that the fact that you've got a certain amount of flesh tones in there, and you can create black eyes and bruises and cuts, stipple beards that last like all day long, mainly depending on how acidic or how alkali the person's face is. Those are not conducive. The inks really work well with a 7.2 pH, which is your normal pH. Then they last the longest. But
you'll get all this in the professional end of class.
Yes, and you can do stipple beards, and then also like if you start stippling the beard on the person with the coarse sponge, and you get like a glitch or something, or you get a heavy area, you can go right to your flesh tone colors, create the person's flesh tone, and just stipple right over that with the flesh tones, and you just blend out the heavy areas that you made a mistake on. I do this all the time, and you can cover tattoos with it, and the flesh tones give you a wide variety of options too.
This aging palette, or the colors that Greg selected for aging makeup.
These are from Greg Canham. He did Rose in the movie Titanic. And he did the aging on that, and he uses all my colors for his aging process. And the nice thing about it also is our colors work on silicone.
Oh, yeah.
They work on silicone, and if you have problems working on silicone when you get into your prosthetics, the silicone if you use some of the silicone adhesives, you can spray a very thin coat of adhesive over the silicones, and the inks will stick also.
Yeah, he used your inks, and he used my UEM brush.
Oh yeah,
fine, little tiny little wedge brush, you know, that we use for eyebrows.
Yeah.
This one now is the Grime and Weathered FX by Brad Look.
Okay.
Brad has been a guest on MUA TV. Very talented makeup artist.
Well, the nice thing about him, I'm getting various makeup artists to create some palettes that they like to work with, and Brad Look was kind enough to put together some colors for me. And he likes to do a combination of both: a weathered look where you have a sunburn effect, where your skin gets nice and red and in different hues, and like maybe the brownish tan colors. John Wayne was very famous for that. They used to use a lot of the very tan colors on him, and they would stipple his face with these various sunburn colors to create the texture in his skin, like he's been on the horse and, you know, for decades and decades. And you know how the weathered look, how a person who's out in the sun all the time gets that weathered leather look. Right. And then we have the grime part of it is for like the bums that, you know, you can make a person look dirty and create things that last on the face for a long time.
We have hot shimmers.
Hot shimmer palettes are, again, more of a fantasy. It's more of a fantasy palette.
Check this out.
And this is to go along with your spectrum colors. If you want to add some metallic looks, we call them metallics, but there is no metal in them at all. These are all cosmetic grade pigments that we use. And then we have also real hair products, real hair palettes. I don't know if you have any there, but for coloring hair, let's say you want to make dark hair and you want to create some gray streaks in a person. We have different colors of gray streaks. We have them both in metallics and we have them in opaque colors. Now, the opaque, some people prefer opaque, other people prefer metallics, and if you want to have the best of both worlds, you use them both together.
Yeah, when you're working with dark hair and you want to make it silver, you want white hair, and you have to counteract. What you'll find is that when you try to put any type of hair whitener on white hair, the old-fashioned contemporary type of hair whitener would go very blue. So what Fred has done here is he's made a hair whitener with these inks that has an orangish tone to it, so that it counteracts that.
Yeah, a yellow ochre,
right?
You know, and it counteracts.
And once you say, for instance, you have black hair and you want to make it white, you go over it first with the orange one, all right, and that kills any blue that may come up. Then you can go over it with the silver, or you can go over it with the white, or a combination of silver and white. After you've done the orange, you can play around with it, all right? And what's this? This is great. This is a quick
new
cover.
Yeah, this is a new little product that we came out with a couple years ago. And what it is, it's a very small version of our palettes. Now, a lot of times you'll be making up an actor or an actress, and they have, like, they'll all of a sudden, like the first day on a show, I mean, it'll happen over and over and over again. They'll come in and they'll have a big headlight right in the middle of their face, meaning a big pimple, okay? And what we used to do is we used to cover them with an oil-based makeup, or
like
yeah. And we cover them up with an oil base or a grease based makeup, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be touching that pimple up all day long. Well, what we've done with this is designed for a nice little compact that you can take your brush, mix the color of that particular actor or actress. You can go in there and just stipple with the tips of your brush that area, let it dry, and you can put makeup right over it.
Right, it seals it.
And it seals it, and I guarantee you'll probably make it through the whole day without any touch-ups.
Can you put like new skin over it first and then
you don't need to?
You don't need to.
You don't need to.
Yeah, because the alcohol.
Just put it. And plus the fact the alcohol helps dry out the pimple too.
Exactly.
But it's such a short period of time while that the ink is wet that it's a little bit significant, but not a cure.
Let's run through these quickly. We want to get these kids back down to class.
Which is that one?
This is the Real Color Wheel.
That's the original one we started with. Now those are your basic spectrum colors. Here, let me get that. There you go. And
these are great for bruises.
Yeah, you can do that. I like to use these mainly for body art, and those are one of the older palettes. We're putting a lot more ink in them right now too. I can tell.
Good.
It's one of the. You've had these here for a while.
Yeah, you brought these here, and we hadn't actually intended to do this show. What, 3 months ago?
Oh, that's true.
You know, it's taken us a while. We're really.
This is we call it the Shades from the Crypt palette. And this is for your ghouly stuff. You can make werewolves. Has got your
this would be great for Halloween.
Your grays and your blood colors and your dead colors, and the one that's called dead way down there and on the lower left hand corner is very effective on the skin. You'll really make that person look dead. In fact, I had a guy. We were doing a show, and we had to make up a bunch of dead people. And I brought my inks in, and we were spraying these people all with that color. And the one guy looked at me, and apparently he works in a morgue, and he says, "Man, that's the color." And I said, "Well, that's all I need to know."
So these are that's. When a mortician tells you it's right, it's right.
These are our airbrush kits.
These are the airbrush liquids.
We have airbrush
inks.
Now, the story behind that is I was asked to make an airbrush kit. And I said, well, you know what? All of our inks are airbrushable. You don't have to do anything specific, just use them. Yeah, but you don't have a kit. And I said, no, we don't have a kit. And I kept getting that same question over and over and over again. So I took a bunch of colors, I put them in a plastic container. I said, okay, we got an airbrush kit, and they're selling like great, you know. And they're the same inks that we use all the time. There's no difference in the inks. Though the airbrush kits, I do have to say, though, if you're going to get a variety of inks, they are the most economical way to buy our inks.
This is a cover-up kit here.
That's a cover-up kit.
And it's in liquid form for airbrush use.
Yeah.
Or for putting on, stippling with a brush.
I actually even have an atomizer in there if you have to use it. You can use an atomizer. I always suggest using an airbrush because it's your best media for applying. The trouble with the sprayer, the atomizer, is the fact that a lot of people try to go in and they'll do gentle squirts, and you're going to get a big blast of blobs. And I always tell them, if you're going to cover up a tattoo, you really want to push down that plunger really, really hard so you get that real fine, dense mist. And that's what really works well. And when you do airbrush and do things like that, you want to not stay in one spot and keep spraying. You want to keep moving and let each layer dry before you come back to it. Because all you do is reactivate or keep the ink wet, and then pretty soon you're going to get like a ring around the center will stay wet, and you're going to you're not going to make it work well.
Fred, what's the commercial kit?
The commercial kit is this is the Real Body Art kit. This is our commercial kit for people who want to go down to, like I say, Venice Beach, or want to open up their little private tattoo stand. I think I've got about 250, 275 tattoos in there, and you can actually do it right there and make a little business for yourself.
That sounds good. We have the real, this is the Whisker Fixer.
This is Whisker Fixer.
Whisker.
Yeah.
Say that fast 3 times.
Now what that is, when all through my makeup career, when they hand lay a beard or they have to seal a beard to keep the shape, a mustache or anything, they used a product called Krylon, not to be confused with Kryolan, all right, different company. Krylon is a commercial spray a spray paint that you buy in cans.
Clear.
I'm sure, and this is called crystal clear Krylon, and they've used this for decades, as long as I've been an apprentice and before, to seal these beards. And what happens with Krylon, first of all, it's a carcinogenic. It's not designed for makeup. Second of all, when you spray it on the beard, after a while it all crystallizes and you have to keep spraying it back on the beard again. Okay, when I started using the acrylic for the Blue Aqua Sealer, I just said, wait a minute, there's something about this that could really work. So I started formulating the acrylic, and I made several different formulas for it, and I finally came up with one, and I call it Whisker Fixer. And what this does, it's impervious to the moisture in your breath. Now, a lot of times when you look at somebody who has a fake mustache on, one of the key giveaways on a fake mustache when you're looking at it on the screen is all of a sudden the hairs will start sticking out. Okay? The curl will just come right out of the thing because of the moisture in the person's nose, in the air that he breathes. And this will eliminate that. When you dress the mustache on a wig block, you spray this on there before you put it on the person, and it'll virtually stay all day long.
So
I wish I had this for Mel Brooks on Life Stinks.
This is, you know what, for you beauty students, this is great also for keeping the eyebrows fixed.
Yeah.
This will work really well.
Oh, absolutely. No problem.
When you just take an eyebrow brush and you hold it up and you just tap it with a sponge or another brush right onto the brow hairs, and it'll keep the eyebrows up really perfectly.
And when you get into laying hair to make beards, and you're using raw hair or raw crepe wool or whatever, when you use that, you can spray that with a Whisker Fixer, dry it with a hair dryer, and then you can float that beard off with some alcohol, and you'll have a beard that you can use over and over again.
Right. But they're going to be learning that. You're all going to be learning that.
You'll be learning that later on.
In character makeup.
But when you start doing that, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
All right. All right, what we're going to do right now is what we've done is I plan to only keep the kids up here until at the latest 11, and because what we have planned for them in beauty makeup today can be accomplished between 11 and 4. So this was something extra for them.
Oh,
so
good.
I hope that they've enjoyed this, because we're still able and we're still on schedule for the rest of your class. Do you, before I send you back downstairs, and a few people out there in Webland will forgive me, I'm going to be talking to the audience now for just 1 minute. If there are any of you who have any additional questions for Mr. Blau before you head on downstairs.
I know you said all your products were okay for airbrushing, but it's easy for airbrush to get clogged. Do you have to dilute the products?
Oh, no, you don't. That's the nice thing about our product. In fact, we just came up with a new ingredient that keeps the pigments looser on the bottom. We used to have a very difficult time shaking up these bottles and getting the pigments to work properly. And I just came across a new additive for my inks. And what's happening now is they really break the pigments down even finer than the way I get them in the raw form. And we have, every once in a while something's going to go through and pop your brush, but it's going to be so rare with our inks, and I guarantee that because we spray these all the time, and I know exactly how they work. But the most important thing is the proper cleaning of your airbrush.
Flushing it.
Flushing the airbrush, and I will tell you this from my experience, the more you take that airbrush apart and the more you mess around with cleaning it, the more wear and tear you're going to do on your brush. Now, what I always suggest is when you use my inks is take some of the developer, spray the developer through there, and once you see that everything is nice and clean, then take one drop, and you have to be careful with this, one drop of mineral oil. And it's in the art stores they call it needle juice, and they charge you $3.95 for a little thing about this big. It's mineral oil. You can get it at any drugstore or any makeup supply house. One drop, spray it into a container, because now when you spray oil through your airbrush, it really gets like fog, and it's not a good thing to breathe. That's all. But and then that way you keep your brush lubricated, and any inks in there will becomes saturated with the oils, and then when you start spraying again the next time, just put a couple of drops of alcohol in there to clean the mineral oil out, and you're ready to go. But the wear and tear on your brush is dismantling, and you're going to have to do that occasionally. I think I had to dismantle mine the other day, and it was been 5 years since it's 5 years since I had to dismantle it.
That's terrific. That's a really great tip. That's a great tip.
But that's your wear and tear, is you're dismantling and cleaning.
Thank you.
Questions?
Okay. On one of the MUA TV segments that you did, a tattoo on a young lady, you used an aerosol to age it, and you said that was the last of it. What has replaced that to make the tattoo
I used an
age
aerosol to age it?
Yes, as you said, that was the last of the can that you had, but you were going to come up with a different product to make it age.
Oh boy, that must have been a long time.
You know what it was? It was a liquid makeup. It was a liquid makeup that you had saved.
Oh no, that was Bill Tuttle's stuff.
That was Bill Tuttle's.
Okay, it wasn't an aerosol. What it was is Bill Tuttle, one of our former, God rest his soul, he came out with a water-based body makeup, and I had saved these tubes for quite a long time, and I used that. It was just like using Pancake, and I just use Pancake now because I don't have any more of his product.
You'll be learning.
I wish I did, but it was really good stuff.
Yeah, you'll be learning how to work with Pancake in class.
Yeah, it wasn't an aerosol though. It was on a wet sponge, like you do body makeup. I sealed with the Blue Aqua Sealer.
That's what the spray was.
I sealed it first, then I put the makeup over the tattoo to age it.
Okay, we're going to break right now, and we're going to be right back right after this. Don't go away.